All right, we're back, everybody. So today we're going to do some wiring. Love it or hate it, it's got to get done. This is a single compressor harness from Airlift Performance, and then this is the secondary compressor harness. If you have Air Ride Performance, you realize how easy and simple these harnesses are, and it's actually going to probably be a fairly easy job to do, despite how crazy it kind of looks. So pretty much if you are running just a single compressor, this is a harness that's going to come with your kit. I do have a second compressor I'm going to run, and they give you a whole other harness too with a relay. So we're going to just kind of lay this stuff out, take a look at it, show you kind of how simple it's going to be to hook this stuff up, and then we are going to run it and hook it up mainly in the car. I have a compartment behind the seat. I'm going to mount the relays, and I'm going to run everything all the way up through the firewall, up to the battery in there. I'm gonna run everything underneath the carpet just so it's a nice clean look. You don't really see much. So we're gonna get ahead, take a look at all this stuff, and then start wiring. All right, so I have everything kind of laid out here. So this is the main compressor harness if you're running a single compressor, and this is what you'll hook up into your air management. So on this end of it, where the connector for the air management is, there's a relay, and then there is a negative and a positive wire for the air compressor, and there's another little connector right here, and this one is for if you are running a second compressor harness, because this will hook to that, which we'll get to. So besides these pieces here, you mainly want to hook the relay up somewhere close to the air management, because that's what I noticed is that there's not a ton of room to run this and run these, so they'd have to stay relatively close. Now, that also would include the compressor, because there's not a ton here, but obviously you can run them wherever you want. You just have to add your own wiring. I am going to run all this in the back, so this will work out perfectly for my application. So moving forward here is, there's these 4 little connectors here. This is for your level sensors. If you have a 3H kit or a 3P, which this is, you can add on the height sensors, and I'm just going to keep these with the harness for now. I may add the sensors later, which I do plan on doing. And this other little piece of the main harness is for your actual controller, and they give you a decent amount of wiring here to run this. And where I'm going to run it is, it's going to go over the center console, so there's plenty of this to run that there. Even if you ran it up to the dashboard, there's definitely enough to kind of put it wherever you wanted to. So, and then coming down to the part where you're going to hook it up to the battery, there's plenty of wiring to run it all the way to the front of the car if you want. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to run it all the way up, driver's side floorboard, up into the firewall, and then there is positive, negative for your battery, and then your key on ignition source. They give you these bags. This is for the main compressor harness, single compressor harness, and then this is for the secondary compressor harness, which they give you a fusible link for your power wire. They give you wire ends, screws, fuses even, zip ties, and also a fusible link for your key on ignition too, which is nice. They really make it easy for you to hook everything up. So that's with that. So now if you have a secondary compressor harness, same thing, relay, there's enough to run your compressor, but you got to kind of keep it close unless you want to extend the wiring. Not a big deal. I am going to put this right next to the other relay in that rear compartment like that, and then run the compressor wires. If you see my trunk setup, they're one next to each other right in the hatch compartment. And then this is the other wire that hooks to the main compressor harness, single compressor harness, like that. So you just hook those in together, run all the way to this, which I'll run this with the single compressor harness all the way to the front of the car, and then same thing, positive, negative. This does not have a key on. The key on is for the single compressor harness, and you just hook that up the way it's supposed to, because that goes to the control module. So that's pretty much that, and same thing in this, fusible link, wire connectors, wire ends, all that good stuff too. So that's pretty much that. We'll zoom in real quick, look at everything, and then we'll just lay it out in the car and start hooking everything up. All right, so here's for the air management, relay, compressor, positive and negative, and then this I have it connected to the second harness there. Here are the 4 little plugs for height sensors. Now this is for the controller, and then all the wiring, positive, negative, key on, And then here's the bag with the fusible links. Same thing for the second one. And there you go, positive, negative for the battery, plenty of harness, and then the relay, second compressor, positive, negative. All right, so I'm inside the car here. I removed the rear compartment lid section and the back piece of the carpet there. I did notice there's these notches, one here and one on the other side, that I'm actually gonna run the harness through it like that. And that compartment piece actually sits right on top of this. So I'll only have to notch a hole on the inside of the compartment, like underneath the lid, to run this part of the harness through here. And I'll do the same to the other side. So I'll end up having a relay on each side here, like that. And then this part actually has all the extra connectors for the height sensors. So I'll end up just tucking this stuff up away in here. So going this route will allow me to have enough room to run my management connector underneath my plastic mount and then all the way up on top of it to be able to click in like that. So this is going to be the best option here. So I'm going to just make a hole in that and then secure this relay on this side and then work on the other one. All right, so this is the second compressor harness relay mounted here. There is the primary harness mounted there, and the wiring's gonna run up in these little notches here like that. This will connect over to there, like that. And I'm gonna have to notch that compartment now, because I'm gonna run this harness over and run everything along on the driver's side footwell all the way down underneath the firewall there. So I'm gonna make a notch both back sides of the compartment, probably one through here somehow, and then I'm going to run the controller harness like this up underneath this carpet in the back side of this console here, because I'm going to put my controller right in there like I said before. So right now I'm going to notch that compartment and then sit that back down and fit everything. So I got everything notched here. So this would be the back side of the main harness going through there, and then I did over here to run the secondary harness underneath this, and then over on that side, this 1980s plastic was just kind of breaking off and snapping as I was trying to cut it, but it's an old piece, it's the original piece too. And then there's this notch here for all the harnesses to come through and run underneath the carpet. So I'm gonna sit this back in the car and see if I cut out enough here. All right, it actually fits pretty good. I'm gonna notch a little bit more out of here, because there's one bend in the harness here, but the main harness running up towards the battery here, that fits in there well. All this stuff kind of fits in there nice. And then this is the other side. So I'm just gonna notch a little bit out there, and the back fits really well, so turned out good. All right, I have the rear compartment back in here. As you can see, there's that one relay, there's the other one, and I have all the wiring kind of tucked up here now, which I'm gonna run forward. And then I also did this, ran this under there. And there's a ton of extra wires I give you, just in case I want to change the location in the future. I'm just gonna keep that in there for right now. And then there's the controller, like that. And I also put the carpet down, ran the wiring for the compressors up through here, like that. And then this is for the control module and all the hoses. So I'm gonna bring the trunk mount in now and then hook up the compressors. All All right, so I got the both positives and negatives hooked up on both compressors. I got some heat shrink over each one of these, so I'm just gonna melt these down and then I'm gonna sit this thing back down and then we can hook it up over at the battery. All right, so the compressors are in and wired and the relays are in there. And this is the harness I have. It's gonna run underneath here. I'm gonna probably pull up all this trim here on the sill and tuck it up underneath the carpet. So what I'm gonna do now is I found a spot on the firewall that I'm gonna drill a hole through and run everything through, which is kind of right behind the battery. So I'm gonna pull out the battery in this piece here, and it's actually underneath. You can see where these hood release cables come out. It's about 3 inches underneath there, which I'm gonna drill a hole through and run everything through. All right, so if you look in here, I put a pilot hole already right there. It's a perfect area to run the harness out. And I'll put a grommet in here too, and then I'll run the harness over here. And then obviously that's just in front of the battery right there. So I'm gonna go ahead and just drill that hole and then pull the wires through. All right, so I have the fusible links in, ground's ready. I'm gonna put the battery back in it right now. I do have some other battery terminals that have studs on the end to hook all this up to. So I'm gonna put that back in, put this panel back on, and wrap this up. All right, so these are the new battery terminal bolts here. They had a little stud on the back of them to hook your wire connectors to, which is pretty cool. All right, just finish up the terminals there. You can see there's the ground. There's the power, and here are the two fusible links there. So that's completed on that end, and then we'll just peek inside here. Have everything tucked up under there nicely. All hidden, and that is that. All right, that's it for today's video. As you can see, that was relatively easy to do. The hardest part is running it underneath the carpet and hiding everything like that. But those harnesses are really nice. I have to say, they're really simple to work with, and it's nice to have something that you can kind of just somewhat plug and play for the most part. So if you enjoyed the video, press like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.